The galaxy had seen much in its long history. Empires had risen and fallen, stars had been born and died, and countless races had come and gone. Yet even after all this, the humans remained a curious mystery. To most alien civilizations, they seemed fragile. Their homeworld, Earth, was small, crowded, and chaotic compared to the disciplined, organized planets of the other races. Most aliens believed humans had survived only because nothing had been harsh enough to wipe them out. Now, however, the galaxy faced a threat unlike any before. The Vorak Armada, a fleet of terrifying warships, each larger than many cities, was sweeping through star systems, leaving nothing but ash and silence behind. The Vorak were relentless. They had no mercy, no diplomacy, and no reason to stop until every planet they touched was conquered or destroyed. The United Stellar Council met in emergency session to discuss the invasion. Representatives of dozens of races filled the vast council chamber, their voices rising and falling like waves in a storm. Some called for immediate evacuation of the threatened systems. Others demanded that the Vorak be met with overwhelming force. Still, no solution seemed enough. Then the humans arrived. Their fleet was modest compared to the fleets of the major civilizations. Their ships were smaller, less polished, and seemingly weaker. Many council members sneered at their presence. "Humans?" a reptilian ambassador hissed, his eyes narrowing. "They expect us to rely on these ships?" "Do they even know how to fight?" muttered a floating sentient gas being who had lived for millennia and seen countless battles. "I've read about their species. Primitive, clumsy, weak. Why call them at all?" But the humans did not flinch. On board their flagship, the USS Resolute, Commander Alara Voss paced the bridge, calm and focused. Around her, officers checked systems, coordinated communications, and studied battle simulations. Humans might have looked ordinary, even fragile to outsiders, but Voss knew better. Humans thrived where others hesitated. They adapted, they endured, and most importantly, they never gave up. "Commander," said Captain Jarek Thorne, his voice steady but carrying a hint of excitement, "our fleet is ready. All ships report systems operational, weapons calibrated, shields at full capacity. The crew is trained and waiting your orders." Voss stopped pacing and looked out at the massive viewport. Stars stretched endlessly before them. Somewhere out there, the Vorak waited. Somewhere out there, countless lives were in danger. "Good," she said softly. "We don't get second chances. Remember, Jarek, it's not just firepower that wins battles. It's planning, instinct, and courage. Every human here understands that." Thorne nodded. "Yes, ma'am. We've trained for this. Unlike some of the others," he added with a faint smirk, glancing at a communications panel displaying alien fleet movements. "We know humans are unpredictable. That works in our favor." Across the council, skepticism ran high. Alien leaders whispered among themselves, doubting the humans' ability to survive even the first skirmish. Some openly laughed. The humans heard nothing, focused entirely on their preparation. Meanwhile, on the outer edges of the galaxy, the Vorak Armada continued its march. Planets that had once flourished now floated silently in space, their cities reduced to rubble, their people gone. Intelligence reports showed that the Vorak were methodical, studying every species' strengths and weaknesses, then exploiting them with ruthless precision. The humans, however, had a secret. They didn't rely on brute force alone. They were inventive. They could think outside the patterns the Vorak expected. Where alien fleets might repeat the same strategies, humans improvised. Where enemies assumed weakness, humans revealed strength. And while the galaxy doubted them, Voss and her team quietly planned ways to turn doubt into opportunity. "Captain Thorne," Voss said, breaking the quiet, "run a simulation of the Vorak's known tactics. I want to see every possible approach they might use against us. Then let's create options they won't expect. Thorne's fingers flew across the console. Already in progress, Commander. Initial analysis suggests they rely on direct assaults and overwhelming firepower. Their patterns are rigid, almost mechanical. They repeat what works. If we can predict their predictions... Yes, Voss interrupted. We can be 3 steps ahead without them even realizing it. She paused, her gaze hardening. I want the crew prepared not just to fight, but to survive and adapt. We're going into a storm that could destroy us. But humans have faced storms before. This is no different. Below the deck, crew members ran through drills. Young cadets who had never seen real battle practiced emergency procedures. Engineers tested systems, ensuring every ship could withstand more damage than anyone expected. Soldiers trained tirelessly, mastering both conventional weapons and hand-to-hand combat. Every human aboard felt the weight of responsibility, not just for themselves, but for the countless lives depending on them. Even as the human fleet readied itself, alien fleets around them moved with uncertainty. Some fleets were hesitant to engage, unsure of the humans' role. Others openly scoffed, believing the Vorak would obliterate the humans before they even reached the front lines. But Voss was unfazed. Let them doubt us, she told her officers. Doubt is a weapon we can use. When the galaxy sees humans in action, it won't just be surprise. They'll be forced to question everything they thought they knew. Days passed. The fleet traveled through empty space, moving closer to the Vorak front lines. Along the way, the humans took note of the devastation. Entire worlds lay in ruin. They encountered refugee convoys, terrified and desperate, fleeing the Vorak's advance. Each human on board felt a mixture of sorrow and determination. These were lives they could save. They would save. One night, aboard the Resolute, Voss walked the observation deck alone. Stars twinkled in the darkness, distant and cold, yet beautiful. She thought of Earth, its oceans, forests, and mountains. She thought of the people she had left behind. And she thought of the challenge ahead. No one believes we can do this, she whispered to herself. Let them watch. Back in the council chamber, alien leaders continued to argue. They are overconfident, one said. Humans are doomed. They can barely survive on their homeworlds, let alone face the Vorak. A luminescent delegate from the Zalari race added, perhaps they serve a purpose as distractions. Useful maybe, but ultimately expendable. But the humans did not need validation. Their preparations were quiet, deliberate. Their minds sharp, their spirits steady. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, the Vorak waited, confident in their conquest, unaware that their first encounter with humans would change everything. Voss returned to the bridge. The fleet's ships hummed with life, shields glowing softly, engines primed. The crew was ready, disciplined, and prepared to do the impossible. Humans might have seemed small, fragile, or even foolish to others, but in truth, they were something else entirely. They were survivors, fighters, innovators, and when the moment came, they would show the galaxy exactly why no one should ever underestimate them. As the stars stretched out before them, the calm before the storm held for only a few more hours. Soon, the first signals of the Vorak Armada would appear on sensors. Soon, humanity's true test would begin, and when it did, the galaxy would witness the moment humans entered battle, a moment that would forever change the perception of a species. Voss leaned over the console, eyes fixed on the dark void ahead. Let's make history, she said quietly. The fleet responded in silent acknowledgement, engines pulsing in quiet anticipation. The calm was over. The storm was approaching. And when it arrived, humans would be ready. The human fleet moved silently through the void. Each ship glimmered faintly against the blackness of space, like sparks on a dark river. They were smaller than most other fleets in the sector. But they carried something the galaxy had never fully understood: unpredictability. Humans did not always follow the rules. They adapted. They improvised. And in a battle against the Vorak, that could mean the difference between life and death. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the USS Resolute, her eyes scanning the long-range sensors. The Vorak armada was close now, far closer than anyone had hoped. Thousands of enemy vessels moved in patterns that were rigid, calculated, and terrifying. Their black hulls shimmered faintly, absorbing light, making them appear like shadows drifting in the void. "Commander," said Lieutenant Mara Keel, her voice tight with tension, "the Vorak are moving faster than predicted. They've already destroyed 3 systems in the past 48 hours. Our allies are holding back, unsure how to proceed." Voss's jaw tightened. "They hesitate because they doubt us," she said calmly. "Let them. We don't need them to act. Humans will take the first step." The alien fleets surrounding the humans muttered amongst themselves. Many still scoffed openly, unwilling to accept that humans could lead the charge. Some even whispered that the humans were foolish, throwing themselves into death without a chance to survive. But Voss was not concerned with whispers. She was concerned with action. "Prepare reconnaissance." "Teams," she ordered. "We need eyes on the next Vorak system. Fast ships, minimal crew. No one gets caught unprepared." Minutes later, small human vessels darted into the void like fireflies. They moved quickly, silently, and efficiently. Unlike most alien ships, humans did not rely on rigid formation. They moved in irregular patterns, confusing enemy sensors and making it nearly impossible for the Vorak to predict their approach. Captain Jarek Thorne piloted one of the reconnaissance ships personally. The small vessel shivered as it passed through the gravitational field of a gas giant. Sensors detected wreckage from a recent Vorak strike, craters on moons, abandoned stations, and drifting escape pods. Human crews worked silently, scanning debris for survivors. Then, they found a colony ship. It was small, barely able to sustain life, and its hull was scorched from enemy fire. Inside, thousands of frightened civilians huddled together, eyes wide with fear. The Vorak had not left a single guard. They had assumed complete destruction. Thorne's hands moved over the controls. "This is our chance," he said. "We can save them before the Vorak return." He activated emergency docking protocols. Human engineers guided the civilians aboard efficiently, calming them with gentle words and practiced coordination. The aliens in the surrounding fleets looked on in disbelief. None had expected humans to risk themselves for lives already marked for death. "Why save them?" whispered a Zalari officer nearby, her voice trembling. "They are doomed. It is useless." "Because humans care," another human officer said quietly as he assisted a family aboard the ship. "And that makes all the difference." The human fleet continued forward, moving closer to the main Vorak formation. Sensors picked up signals of destruction on every side. Planets burned. Starships drifted in silence, destroyed in seconds by the enemy's overwhelming firepower. Many Allied fleets were paralyzed with fear, unsure if they should intervene. But humans pressed on. They did not hesitate. They did not falter. Their small, unpredictable ships slipped between Vorak destroyers, scanning, recording, and preparing for action. Back on the Resolute, Commander Voss monitored the situation closely. "They're watching us," she said, noticing alien fleet captains studying human actions on sensor feeds. "Let them watch. Confusion is a weapon. Humans don't fight like others. We make our own rules." Lieutenant Keel frowned. "Commander, our recon reports indicate Vorak patrols are approaching. They're faster and more numerous than we anticipated. If we don't retreat, we risk being trapped." Voss shook her head. "Retreat is not an option. The civilians must be saved, and the Vorak must see that humans are not easy prey. Send the signal. Let them know humans are here. Let them doubt themselves." The communications officer transmitted a bold message, coded for Vorak receivers. Humans are here. We will not flee. You will see what you cannot predict. Across the galaxy, Vorak officers received the message. They paused, scanning their sensors. The humans were small, yes. Their ships were few. But their actions, rescuing civilians, moving unpredictably, and broadcasting confidence, were not expected. Doubt flickered briefly across their ranks. Meanwhile, human engineers worked tirelessly. Makeshift repairs were completed in minutes, systems rerouted to compensate for damage, and shields strengthened in ways alien fleets had never imagined. Soldiers practiced boarding maneuvers, ready to defend every inch of their ships. The humans were ready, not because they had the largest weapons, but because they had the sharpest minds and the strongest will. Then the first encounter occurred. Vorak scouting group emerged from hyperspace, massive warships surrounding the human recon squad. The humans did not panic. They moved in chaotic patterns, weaving between asteroids and gas clouds. Vorak targeting systems struggled to lock onto them. Missiles were launched, but intercepted mid-flight by human drone interceptors, small, agile devices humans had designed for precision defense. Captain Thorne's ship zipped forward. "Prepare countermeasures," he said, "and follow my lead. We're not here to die. We're here to survive and make them question their certainty." The Vorak fired again, larger volleys this time, but humans continued their dance using unpredictability as armor. Small bursts of plasma and laser energy lit the darkness, but human ships emerged unscathed, their hulls absorbing damage in ways the Vorak did not anticipate. "Commander Voss," Lieutenant Keel called over comms, "they're reacting strangely. Their formations are breaking apart. They can't predict our maneuvers." Voss's eyes narrowed. "Good. Keep pushing. Make them uncomfortable. Fear comes from the unknown, and we are the unknown." The humans pressed on, weaving through the Vorak lines to reach the colony ship. Using clever tactics, they created temporary shields and diversions. Small teams boarded the enemy vessels, sabotaging engines and communication arrays, then retreated, before the Vorak could retaliate. The aliens watching the humans were stunned. Even the allied fleets began to whisper in amazement. "They're clever," muttered one. "They're not just surviving, they're adapting faster than anything we've seen." By the time the humans reached the colony ship, the civilians were safe. Families hugged, children cried, and for the first time in days, hope returned to their eyes. The humans did not pause for celebration. They had no time. The Vorak were still out there, and the battle was far from over. Commander Voss's voice echoed across all human vessels. "Today, we did what others said was impossible. Remember this moment. Remember that humans never give up. Today, we have made the galaxy take notice." Back in the Vorak fleet, hesitation grew. They had expected humans to flee, to be easily destroyed. But the humans had acted with courage, intelligence, and precision. Doubt crept into their ranks. Could this small, seemingly weak species be more dangerous than predicted? The human fleet, though battered and weary, moved forward with renewed determination. Each victory, small though it was, reinforced their belief in themselves. They were not merely soldiers, they were survivors, thinkers, and innovators. They did not fight like others. They fought like humans. As the fleet entered deeper into Vorak-controlled space, the humans prepared for what would come next. The first contact with chaos had tested them, and they had survived. But this was only the beginning. The galaxy had watched, and doubt had begun to ripple across the stars. Voss looked out at the endless void, a quiet smile on her lips. "We have made our mark," she said softly, "but the real challenge is ahead. And when it comes, the galaxy will remember one thing: humans do not retreat." Humans do not surrender, and humans never, ever stop. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but now they seemed a little less intimidating. The humans had faced the first storm, and they had not only survived, they had triumphed. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The human fleet moved cautiously but purposefully through the Vorak-controlled systems. Every jump through hyperspace brought them closer to the heart of the enemy's territory. Each crew member aboard the USS Resolute knew what awaited them: death, destruction, and chaos. Yet no human showed fear. Their training, their adaptability, and their trust in one another had forged a calm confidence that no alien fleet could comprehend. "Commander Voss," Lieutenant Mara Keel said from her station, "sensors show multiple Vorak warships ahead. Their formation is tight, their firepower overwhelming. Engaging them directly would be suicidal." Voss's eyes scanned the displays, calm but sharp. "Direct engagement is not our goal. We don't need to destroy every ship. We need to make them hesitate, make them react, and most importantly, make them doubt themselves." The alien fleets nearby whispered among themselves. "Do they understand what they face?" a Zalari officer muttered. "The Vorak crush entire systems without hesitation. This human strategy is reckless." But humans did not fight like other races. They did not rely on sheer numbers or predictable tactics. Where alien fleets followed patterns, humans improvised. Where the Vorak expected caution, humans advanced boldly. Captain Jarek Thorne piloted a reconnaissance craft at the front of the fleet. "All ships, follow my lead. Move in zigzag patterns. Don't allow their targeting systems a lock. Spread out, then regroup." The small human vessels darted between asteroids, weaving unpredictably. The Vorak scanners struggled to keep track of them. Missiles were fired, but drones intercepted them mid-flight. Human engineers rerouted power in real time, reinforcing shields where needed. Then the Vorak attacked. Massive beams of plasma lanced through the darkness, scorching asteroids and vaporizing debris. Alien observers winced as human ships twisted and turned, dodging fire with a precision that seemed almost impossible. One ship, the USS Vanguard, took a direct hit. Its hull groaned and sparks flew, but the crew executed emergency protocols flawlessly. Within minutes, shields were restored, and the ship rejoined the formation. "Humans survive everything," murmured an alien captain nearby. "They are reckless, but they endure." The battle escalated. Vorak strike craft flanked. The human fleet, their numbers overwhelming. Human ships split into smaller squads, each taking different approaches to confuse the enemy. Some launched decoy drones to mislead the Vorak targeting systems. Others used stealth technology to appear where they shouldn't, striking vulnerable points and then vanishing. Commander Voss remained calm on the Resolute. "Keep moving," she ordered. "Every ship has a role. We are not here to die. We are here to win. And we will, because no one can predict humans." Meanwhile, small human boarding teams executed daring missions. They latched onto Vorak warships, infiltrating them through tiny maintenance ports. In minutes, the humans sabotaged engines, disrupted communications, and planted timed charges. The Vorak, confident in their superiority, had not anticipated such tactics. Their massive fleet was suddenly chaotic, forced to split attention between defending themselves and managing internal sabotage. Captain Thorne's squad faced a critical moment. A Vorak warship blocked their retreat path. They could turn back, but it would risk discovery. Thorne made a decision in a heartbeat. "Prepare the plasma cutter. We're making our own path." In seconds, the team carved an escape route through the enemy ship's hull, using precision strikes to avoid critical systems. The crew passed through safely, leaving the Vorak crew scrambling in confusion. Alien observers gasped. "No species would attempt such a maneuver," one said, and survive. Across the battlefield, humans continued their unpredictable assault. Smaller ships darted between larger vessels, while boarding teams disabled key weapons. Every strike was calculated yet daring, precise yet bold. The Vorak fleet, accustomed to overwhelming force, was thrown into disarray. "Commander, sensors. Show Vorak command is hesitating," Lieutenant Keel reported. "They're not regrouping. They're confused." Voss smiled faintly. "Exactly as planned. Humans are a storm they cannot predict. Keep pressing. Confusion is a weapon we wield better than any plasma cannon." Amid the chaos, humans displayed another advantage: coordination. Alien fleets had never seen such seamless teamwork. Each human ship moved in tandem with others, responding instantly to changes, anticipating each other's needs. Where Vorak crews acted as individuals or in rigid units, humans operated as one living organism. Then came the pivotal moment. The Vorak flagship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons, attempted to strike at the Resolute directly. Its plasma, cannons flared, tearing through space with lethal force. Voss did not flinch. She gave a single command: "Deploy the decoys. Execute Vector Alpha 3. The fleet responded instantly. Ships scattered in synchronized patterns, creating multiple false targets. The Vorak flagship fired blindly, its massive beams striking nothing but empty space. In response, human boarding teams teleported onto the enemy vessel, cutting critical systems with speed and precision. Within minutes, the Vorak flagship's weapons were offline, leaving it vulnerable to a coordinated human strike. Alien observers were stunned. "They have disabled the flagship without even entering full combat range," one exclaimed. "This is genius." The turning point had come. Vorak fleets began to falter. Ships that once moved with terrifying precision now hesitated. Doubt spread through their ranks like wildfire. The humans' unpredictability, courage, and relentless strategy had shaken the enemy to its core. Captain Thorne radioed back to Voss. "The flagship is immobilized. Shall we finish it?" "Not yet," Voss replied. "We need the full effect. Let the Vorak see their vulnerability. Then we strike together." The human fleet regrouped, moving as one. They had turned a seemingly impossible situation into an advantage. Vorak forces were scattered, their formations broken, their confidence shaken. Humans did not just fight. They engineered chaos among the enemy, demonstrating a level of adaptability and creativity that no alien fleet had seen before. Meanwhile, Allied fleets began to follow the humans' lead. Slowly, cautiously, they joined the assault. Inspired by the humans' success, aliens who had doubted them now took heart. Where hesitation had once ruled, determination now took hold. Commander Voss watched the unfolding battle from the bridge. Her face remained calm, but her mind was a whirlwind of strategy. Every movement had purpose. Every strike was deliberate. Humans were proving something the galaxy had refused to believe. Size and numbers were not the only measures of power. Intelligence, courage, and ingenuity mattered just as much, sometimes more. Hours passed. The Vorak continued to resist, but the tide had turned. Smaller human ships darted among the enemy vessels, planting charges, cutting engines, and striking where least expected. The flagship, crippled but still dangerous, became the focus of a coordinated human assault. Finally, with precise timing, the human fleet struck together. Plasma beams, missiles, and tactical boarding attacks converged simultaneously. The Vorak flagship erupted in a controlled explosion, scattering debris across space. The remaining Vorak ships faltered, retreating in confusion. For a moment, silence filled the void. Humans had won the battle, not through overwhelming numbers, not through brute force, but through strategy, courage, and ingenuity. Alien commanders watched in awe. Doubt had been replaced by astonishment. Where humans went, unpredictability followed. Where humans led, others began to hope. Captain Thorne looked over at Voss. "We did it," he said quietly. "They've started to doubt themselves." Voss nodded. "Not just them. The galaxy will never doubt humans again. This is only the beginning. We've shown what we are capable of, and now everyone else has to adjust their expectations." The survivors among the Vorak retreated, leaving human forces to regroup. Casualties were acknowledged, repairs were made, and messages were sent to the rescued colonies. Every life saved reinforced the truth that humans did not fight for glory. They fought because it was the right thing to do. Courage, ingenuity, and determination had combined to create a turning point no one in the galaxy would forget. As the human fleet moved forward into the unknown, Commander Voss reflected silently. The first full-scale engagement had ended. The Vorak had been shaken. Allied fleets had witnessed what humans could do. Doubt had begun to spread across enemy ranks, and for humans, this was not victory. It was the beginning of proving themselves across the stars. The real challenge, Voss whispered to herself, is yet to come. But when it does, the galaxy will remember one truth. Humans survive, humans adapt, and humans never, ever give up. The stars stretched endlessly before them, calm, yet holding danger. But humans had found their rhythm, their edge, and their courage. The tide had turned, and the galaxy was watching. This was the moment when doubt began to fade, when humans first showed the universe that their spirit was something no enemy could easily destroy. The aftermath of the first battle was still fresh across the galaxy. The Vorak armada had retreated, but their retreat was uneasy. Doubt had begun to creep into their ranks. They had faced humans, small, seemingly fragile, and yet terrifyingly unpredictable, and they had survived, adapted, and struck with precision. The galaxy was no longer certain of what humans were capable of. Commander Alara Voss studied the Vorak remnants on the tactical map. "They'll regroup," she said quietly, "and they'll come back stronger. We must be ready, not just to survive, but to turn the fight in our favor." Captain Jarek Thorne leaned against a console, smirking. "They think they've learned something about us. The truth is, they've seen only the tip of the iceberg." Voss nodded. "Exactly. Humans have something the Vorak can't understand. Our creativity, our adaptability, our willingness to risk everything to save others. That is power they cannot anticipate." The fleet moved into Vorak space once more. But this time the humans were not just reacting. They were planning. Using their unique combination of engineering, strategy, and intuition, they prepared to take the fight, too. The enemy in a way no alien fleet had ever attempted. Small strike teams were assembled. Engineers, soldiers, and pilots worked together, designing tactics that combined technology with improvisation. Mines disguised as asteroids, drone swarms programmed to mimic Vorak formations, and stealth vessels equipped with modified sensors. All were prepared to confound the enemy. "Commander," Lieutenant Keel said, tapping her console, "our intelligence suggests the Vorak flagship is attempting to rally its fleet. If we strike there first, we can cause maximum confusion." Voss considered this. "Good, but we do it carefully. One false move and the Vorak will destroy us. We must be fast, precise, and unpredictable. Every ship has a role. Every move must be coordinated, but not obvious." As the fleet approached the enemy stronghold, the first signs of the Vorak appeared. Massive warships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls black and menacing, their weapons bristling. The humans did not hesitate. "Form wedge formation," Voss ordered. "Send decoy signals ahead. Launch stealth drones to mislead their sensors. And remember, improvise where necessary." The Vorak watched with confidence. They had assumed humans would flee or falter. They had not expected boldness, not on this scale. But the humans moved like a single organism, every ship reacting to the others, every squad anticipating what was needed next. Captain Thorne piloted his ship at the front, weaving through enemy fire. Smaller ships darted alongside him, creating unpredictable patterns. Vorak targeting systems struggled to adjust. Missiles and plasma beams flew past, striking empty space as humans shifted faster than the enemy could track. Then, the first strike. Human boarding teams teleported onto the Vorak flagship. Engineers planted charges in critical systems while soldiers disabled weapon arrays. The Vorak crew scrambled to respond, but every move humans made was faster, smarter, more unpredictable. Within minutes, key sections of the flagship were offline. At the same time, smaller human ships attacked surrounding Vorak vessels. They used tactics alien fleets had never considered: feigned retreats to lure enemies into traps, sudden acceleration to appear in unexpected locations, and electronic warfare. To scramble targeting systems, alien observers could only watch in disbelief. "They are dismantling the enemy without even entering full combat range," one gas-being diplomat muttered. "This is impossible." Voss watched the battle unfold on her console. "Good," she said softly. "Keep pressing. Confuse them. Make them question every decision. That doubt will be more effective than any weapon." The Vorak tried to regroup, but human ingenuity continued to confound them. Engineers aboard smaller ships modified weapons mid-battle, turning enemy torpedoes against their own vessels. Drones infiltrated the enemy fleet, sabotaging engines and shields from within. Humans were not just fighting, they were rewriting the rules of engagement. Even the Allied fleets, once hesitant, began to follow the humans' lead. They learned quickly, inspired by the human approach. Humans were teaching them without speaking, showing them that victory depended on creativity, courage, and adaptability, not just raw firepower. Captain Thorne radioed back to Voss. "We've reached the Vorak flagship's command hub. Shall we proceed with the final strike?" Voss nodded. "Yes. Timing is everything. Synchronize with all teams. Every action must be simultaneous. This is the moment we end their morale." Human forces converged on the flagship from multiple directions. Explosions rocked the vessel as charges detonated and systems failed. Vorak crews panicked, unable to comprehend the precision and audacity of the human attack. Smaller vessels that tried to intervene were disabled by coordinated strikes from human teams. Finally, with a controlled detonation, the Vorak flagship was destroyed. A massive shockwave rippled through the enemy fleet, leaving smaller ships scattered and confused. The humans had achieved what no one thought possible. They had struck fear into the heart of the Vorak armada. Commander Voss allowed herself a small smile. "This is how humans fight, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, creativity, and courage. Let them see what we are capable of." The Vorak fleet, shaken and disorganized, began to retreat. Their officers, who had once believed humans were weak, now hesitated. They could not predict what humans would do next. The very unpredictability of the species had become a weapon. Back on the Resolute, Voss addressed her fleet. "Today, we showed the galaxy that humans are not what they seem. We do not fight like others. We adapt, we survive, and we strike with precision. Never forget what we have done here. This is the moment we change everything." In the aftermath, humans tended to the wounded and repaired their ships. Yet there was little time for rest. Vorak reinforcements were still possible, and other fleets in the galaxy were beginning to follow the human example. The ripple effect of their actions was spreading rapidly. Across the galaxy, alien species began to take note. Reports came in of humans saving colonies, disabling enemy vessels, and inspiring Allied fleets to act with greater confidence. The legend of human ingenuity was growing, quietly, steadily, and irresistibly. Even the Vorak command was unsettled. "These humans," a Vorak officer muttered. "They are small. They should be weak. And yet, they think differently. They act unpredictably. They survive. How can this be?" Humans did not wait for answers. They pressed forward, pushing deeper into Vorak space. Every encounter reinforced their growing reputation. They saved lives, disabled weapons, and left a trail of astonished allies and confused enemies in their wake. Commander Voss walked through the resolute corridors, observing her crew. Soldiers trained, engineers tinkered with devices, and pilots reviewed maneuvers. Everyone was calm but alert, confident yet humble. They knew their work was not yet done. The Vorak had been shaken, but the war was far from over. "Captain Thorne," Voss said, approaching him on the bridge, "today we proved humans are more than others believed. Tomorrow, we will show the galaxy what it truly means to fight alongside humans." Thorne nodded. "They will remember this, Commander. They cannot ignore us now. Not the Vorak, not the Allies, not anyone." Voss looked out at the stars. "Humans. Fight with heart, with mind, and with courage. That is our weapon. That is our strength. And as long as we never forget it, the galaxy will learn to respect us. Fear us if they must, but never underestimate us." As the fleet moved forward, small celebrations broke out among the crew, tempered by focus and determination. Humans had turned the battle, but they knew each victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching. The Vorak would regroup, and the humans would face challenges no one else could endure. But for now, they had unleashed their ingenuity, striking fear into the hearts of an enemy who had thought them weak. And the galaxy was taking notice. The stars stretched endlessly before them, dark and full of danger, yet humans pressed onward, their minds sharp, their spirits unyielding, their courage unmatched. The battle had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be counted out, that even the smallest and seemingly fragile species could change the course of war. In every system they passed, doubt spread among the Vorak, hope spread among the Allies, and the legend of human ingenuity grew larger. The moment humans acted, the rules of war itself had shifted. The galaxy held its breath. After months of preparation, daring skirmishes, and demonstrations of ingenuity, humans had finally reached the edge of the Vorak heart of power. Entire fleets watched from a cautious distance. Some allied species had begun to follow human strategies. Others simply observed, unsure how such a small species could achieve so much. Yet everyone sensed the same truth. The humans were about to change history. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the USS Resolute, her gaze fixed on the massive Vorak armada awaiting them. The flagship alone was larger than some planets, bristling with weapons capable of obliterating entire fleets. Surrounding it were hundreds of Vorak vessels, each a war machine designed for fear and destruction. "Commander," Lieutenant Mara Keel said, her voice tight with tension, "we are outnumbered. Our forces, even with allies, are less than half of theirs. Direct attack could be catastrophic." Voss turned her eyes from the sensors to her officers. "Direct attack is not what we will do," she said. "We will attack in ways they cannot imagine. We will fight with courage, with intelligence, and with unpredictability. That is our weapon." Captain Jarek Thorne smiled faintly. "Let's remind them why humans are feared and respected." The fleet moved into position. Humans had prepared meticulously. Their engineers had devised drones to confuse enemy targeting systems. Pilots had memorized asteroid fields and used gravitational pulls as shields. Boarding teams were ready to infiltrate critical enemy vessels, and all crews had been trained to adapt, to improvise, to survive. Then, the first signals came from Vorak communications channels. They had detected the human fleet and immediately began deploying the armada. Massive beams of energy lit the void. Missiles streaked through space. The Vorak believed this would be an easy victory. They were wrong. Voss's voice was calm, yet commanding. Deploy decoys, activate stealth drones, take positions Alpha through Delta, and remember, our strength is unpredictability. Act without fear, adapt without hesitation. Human ships spread across space, moving in patterns that were difficult for even the most advanced sensors to track. They twisted between asteroids, darted through nebulae, and created false targets to lure the Vorak into traps. Missile volleys missed their mark as drones intercepted them. Plasma beams struck empty space as human ships shifted positions. "Commander," Keel said, eyes wide at the display. "The Vorak flagship is preparing a concentrated strike on the Resolute." Voss's jaw tightened. "Then we make it miss." She tapped commands rapidly, coordinating the fleet like a conductor guiding a symphony. "All units, execute Vector Omega-7. Draw them into our trap." The flagship fired, releasing a volley that could destroy any ordinary ship. But humans were not ordinary. Ships split, weaving unpredictably, while stealth drones mimicked their signals. The Vorak weapons struck decoys and empty asteroids. The humans used every advantage of speed, terrain, and ingenuity. Then, the boarding teams struck. Small, highly trained squads teleported onto the Vorak flagship, moving silently through maintenance corridors. They sabotaged engines, disabled weapon arrays, and planted charges at critical points. The Vorak crew panicked. Every attempt to repel the humans failed. The small, agile boarding parties were everywhere at once, striking like ghosts. Captain Thorne radioed in. "We've reached the command hub. Charges are set. Timing?" Voss's eyes were steady. "Simultaneous detonation. At my mark. Now." Explosions erupted inside the Vorak flagship. The massive vessel shuddered as systems failed. Energy shields collapsed. Weapons discharged wildly before dying. The Vorak fleet faltered, unsure how to respond. Chaos spread like wildfire. From every angle, humans pressed their advantage. Smaller ships disabled Vorak warships, while drones spread confusion through enemy systems. Boarding teams infiltrated other vessels, shutting them down one by one. The Vorak fleet, once a coordinated force of terror, now resembled a scattering. Of frightened prey, alien observers gasped. "They are destroying the flagship and immobilizing the fleet simultaneously," one said. "How is this possible?" It was possible because humans did not fight like others. They adapted. They improvised. They turned intelligence into a weapon, courage into strategy, and creativity into power. They used what others saw as limitations as advantages, making the Vorak hesitate for the first time in centuries. Voss's voice carried across all human vessels. "Press the attack. Confuse them. Strike where they least expect it. Every ship has a role. Every strike must be precise. Today, the galaxy will see humans as they have never been seen before." The Vorak tried to regroup, but the humans had anticipated every standard tactic. Feigned retreats drew ships into traps. Sudden accelerations and vector shifts made targeting impossible. Engineers hacked enemy systems mid-battle, turning Vorak weapons against their own fleet. Even the allied species, inspired by humans, joined the assault. Once hesitant fleets now moved with confidence, coordinating attacks in ways humans had, taught without words. Every success reinforced the humans' legend. Every maneuver caused further doubt among the Vorak. Finally, the last massive Vorak warship fell. A coordinated strike from human teams and allies sent the vessel into a controlled explosion. Shockwaves rippled across the remaining enemy ships, forcing them to retreat in disorder. The humans had done what many thought impossible. They had struck the heart of the Vorak armada and emerged victorious. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread instantly. Systems that had once trembled at the thought of humans now celebrated them. Allies no longer whispered doubt. they praised. Even the Vorak, formidable and merciless, were forced to reconsider everything they knew about this species. Humans had rewritten the rules of combat and survival. On the bridge of the Resolute, Voss allowed herself a small, rare smile. Her crew had survived, adapted, and thrived. Their courage had turned fear into hope, doubt into inspiration. The galaxy would never again see humans as weak. Captain Thorne approached her. "Commander, we've done it. They will never forget this." Voss looked at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "They will not. And this is only the beginning. Humans will not conquer the galaxy through sheer force. They will lead through ingenuity, courage, and perseverance. The moment humans act, doubt disappears. That is our gift. That is our strength." Throughout the galaxy, stories of the battle spread like wildfire. Humans had saved countless colonies, destroyed massive warships, and inspired allied fleets to act with bravery. Entire civilizations began to whisper a new truth: never underestimate humans. Even the Vorak, formidable and ruthless, were forced to reconsider. The species they had once thought fragile, clumsy, and predictable had shattered every expectation. Doubt had been wiped across their ranks. The humans had proven that courage, intelligence, and ingenuity were forces greater than size, numbers, or firepower alone. Back aboard the Resolute, Commander Voss surveyed her fleet. Ships were battered, but every crew member knew the truth. They had done the impossible. They had changed the course of history. They had turned fear into hope, chaos into strategy, and doubt into respect. "Humans fight with heart, mind, and courage," she said softly, speaking not just to her crew, but to the galaxy itself. "And as long as we continue to do so, nothing will stop us." The stars stretched endlessly before them, dark and full of unknown dangers, yet humans moved forward, unafraid, determined, and united. The galaxy had witnessed their power, not just in weapons, but in spirit. Today, doubt had been wiped from the stars. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that humans were not merely survivors. Humans were leaders. Humans were innovators. Humans were unstoppable. And for Commander Voss, Captain Thorne, and every human aboard their fleet, the journey had only just begun. The moment humans entered battle, the galaxy changed forever.